my husband is Black, his father is Black, and our son is Black. And the events that are happening in our country right now, I feel them very personally. Every day I think about my family and friends, and I'm worried about them. As a Black wife and a mom, you wonder how your family is when they're out in the public, when they're just living their daily lives. What could happen to them? That's a worry that some people don't have to carry with them every day, but we do. We are brought up to trust in our police that they're here to take care of us and protect us. But it's very difficult when you look at historical track of experiences of Black people, predominantly Black men who are just living their lives, doing some everyday activities in some instances where they're faced with life or death situations. And I think about my husband. He could be driving, right? And if it is the wrong situation, maybe he didn't stop fully at a stop sign. That could be a life or death situation for him if it's the wrong officer that might pull him over. That's frightening for me. And it's very hard for me to think about, for the fact of, I know so many people. I have people in my family who are police officers, and I know that there's so many wonderful officers out there who are there to protect and serve. But you had this dilemma in your mind when you see just so many of our Black men. And now we're seeing more of our Black women. Breonna Taylor is a great example. She was sleeping and she was killed in her sleep. How do we kind of work through that? It's very painful. Our son is 17 months old. We actually, even though he's so young, we have taken him out into the community and have joined a couple of the protests actually and talked to him about what's happening. Though he may not understand, we think it's really important to expose him to that. Children probably know a lot more than we give them credit for, and they are very, very observant, right? So I think that we have to start to have the conversations and ask them, well, what are you seeing? How do you feel about that? Or when you can, turn the situation around and say, did you feel different in a situation? How did that feel for you? So I think having those open dialogues with our children is really, really important. And I don't think we should shy away from them. The other thing I would say is I think we have to do some self reflection on ourselves and think about who's around us. And if we don't have a lot of diversity in our lives, how can we start to make sure that's part of our family life and our family dynamics? I need people to remember that right now, a lot of your Black colleagues and friends and family members um, are hurting and are frustrated and are dealing with their own emotions. Adding the extra level of stress to them to explain the situations or to help you advance your understanding could just add to that level of stress. So that's one thing that I want to remember when we're starting this conversation. My dream would be for individuals to come back and say, hey, I see you. I hear you. I just want to know that you're okay. Could be step one to start the conversation, right? Or I'm just want to check in on you. But the next thing, that added level of understanding and belonging, is like, hey, on top of I see you, I hear you, I want to make sure you're okay. I also did some research. And here's what I learned. Could we talk about it? Because I'd love to understand your personal experience if you have the energy to share that. I think that we just need to stay focused on making sure that we're creating space for people to really have a voice. And I think it is an ongoing thing. I don't think that we let these moments right now fade. I think that the protests will fade, but I think that it's laying the foundation to really see change, systemic change within organizations, within some of these major entities like housing, and we're just talking about things differently. And I think that the appetite to talk about them is there, and I'm hopeful that this is going to continue.